Hello, everyone joining us from the Storm Legacy stream. Thank you for joining us. This is Gizmo. You are here as part of the Infested event. Thanks for hanging out, and we are going to go ahead and get the show started here in just a second. We have a fantastic show lined up for you guys with a nice interview over Stukov and some support questions with designer Nate LaMusga.
Hello.
Did I pronounce that correctly, right?
That was flawless.
Good.
Flawless victory.
I didn't do a trick slur. It's perfect. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and just get this thing rolling, I guess. Let's do that.
Sounds good.
This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. Say, are you ready to begin?
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and you are listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 123, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. And on this week's episode, we have a very special guest joining us this evening. So let's not waste any time. So without further ado, we have hero designer Nate LaMusga here tonight. Nate, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you. I feel very welcome.
Awesome. Excellent. So we have some excellent questions for you tonight. Obviously, Stukov just came out, the newest support to enter the Nexus. So before we get into those here real quick, just kind of tell us real quick, how long have you been working on Heroes of the Storm, and kind of what are your previous projects in Heroes of the Storm?
Right. I've been a hero designer on Heroes of the Storm for a few years now. I can't even say exactly how many. My first hero was Artanis, into Tracer, into Zul, and then so on and so forth. Ariel, Lucio, Diva, and now Stukov, I believe, are my latest ones. Okay,
excellent. So lots of ports in there, lots of heroes I have not only played, but obviously have enjoyed quite a bit. Let's get into starting out with some Stukov here. So when it comes to heroes like Stukov, obviously we've had heroes in the game before that weren't necessarily playable in their previous games, like Ariel and Diablo are the two that come to mind. And when you look at them, Ariel, if I see her, I know she's going to be a support. Diablo is probably going to be a warrior. He's really big. Stukov, from my understanding, I'm not a big StarCraft guy, was never really playable. So what's kind of the deciding factor on what direction you're going to go or what role? Did the role come first, or was it, the hero and you just kind of played around with them until you figured out what fit?
Well, what initially came first is that we wanted an evil support. We wanted a dark support. The players have been asking for it, and we said, okay, it's time. Let's make a sort of sinister type of support, right? And we thought about a lot of different heroes, but we rested on Stukov because he was a StarCraft hero. Everybody liked him. He had that cool arm, so we feel like he really opened our imaginations on what to do about it. And we didn't think it was such a fantasy mismatch to make him a support. So he just sort of checked all the boxes for us, and we thought, yeah, this could work. And so we went ahead full steam with him as our first dark support.
Okay, excellent. So he was always set to be a support then?
Yes,
okay.
From the beginning.
Very cool. And TBK, what do you got for Stukov, or about Stukov?
Okay, so since he was always set, how can you tell us some stories from his development? Like, what did you play around with along the way for his kit, and how did he end up where he is now with some pretty insane moves, like very unique to the game?
Let me tell you some stories here. So
yes, please.
Right at the very beginning, I wanted him to be a viral support. I wanted him to spread all sorts of crazy sort of viruses. The one that is most faithful to what we launched with is his healing pathogen. That's pretty faithful there. And when we initially started playtesting him, healing pathogen constantly spread back and forth. It was a constant virus that went back and forth. Now that's a talent where you can sort of talent into that, which is okay. It makes it a lot easier to balance. It turns out eternal healing versus no healing, those are big discrepancies and can be somewhat difficult to balance. So we sort of like the sort of what I call the cursed dagger from Sylvanas rules, like those rules where it can only spread to each target once. That was actually really elegant to get the play style that we wanted without it being eternally spreading. Some things that we did try out that didn't really make it was he actually, instead of weighted pustule, he actually had a negative virus that spread on enemies. So what you would do is you would put it on an enemy hero, and they would see it being cast on them, but there would be nothing persistent on them to show that they had it. Sort of like a face hugger alien, kind of like brewing in your stomach, right? You don't know you have it. But you could spread it to your enemies, right? And Stukov doesn't see this. If you go into Fog of War, he doesn't see that you're spreading it, but he knows that you're spreading it, right? He sort of has a sixth sense about it. And so if an enemy ever got close in proximity to another enemy, it would spread to that enemy. And then they would go like, wait, did you just spread something to me? What did you just give to me, right? And again, there's nothing that shows it, right? And then his bio kill switch, what that originally did is when you popped all of those, it would deal damage and reveal them and slow them, right? Mm-hmm. Sort of like birthing the alien out of their chest, so to speak. There are a lot of problems that came with a sort of a negative virus. One of which is that it can be confusing. There's a high variance in the reward factor of it. You don't exactly know what you're getting out of it. I wanted you to be able to track the amount of viruses you have, just like Stukov has now in his UI. But at the same time, if you don't see them, you don't know how far away they were. A global sort of reveal, sort of damage ability felt very mean and very powerful, and it really lengthened the cooldown on it, which made it difficult to use as a heal component. So there were a lot of problems with it. But I always like the fantasy of enemies spreading viruses to each other, sort of like how Living Bomb works, but in a more subversive way. Mm-hmm. It also felt very viral. But we got the virus fantasy with the heal anyway, so we feel like the virus fantasy was sort of covered, and Weighted Pustule just sort of came out naturally. Actually, what inspired Weighted Pustule for me was, did you ever see that scene in The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible gets bogged down by all the black things as he tries to run away?
Yeah, the little weird black
stuff. It's kind of just like sort of like a virus that replicates so quickly that it weighs the person down. It makes it hard for them to run. That's sort of what I was going for, and the art did a great job sort of selling that as well. Another big piece of thing that we tried out of Stukov was his heroics were originally very different. Now, for the record, I actually really like where his heroics ended up, and I think people responded to Massive Shove way more positively than I thought they would.
It's so good.
It's so cool. It was a happy accident for sure. But let me throw you what we originally tried, and I pitched it. It went to iteration and playtests and everything, and we just couldn't get it to work. His original heroics, he originally had 3 of them. They were called Zerg Rebirth, and you pick from Zerg Rebirth assassin, support, or tank. And the basic idea was it was like an Ariel Resurrect, where you see your dead allies, but instead of resurrecting them as they are, while their death timer was ticking, you resurrected them as a Zerg monstrosity. Basically, you got to play a different unit. So if you picked assassin, you would res a guy as an assassin, and he would have like swipe abilities. Or if you resurrected a tank, you would have tank abilities. You get the basic idea. Okay. There were a lot of problems with this. It really hit the fantasy of it hit a support fantasy. It hit a Zergy support fantasy of reviving a guy back from the dead, but reviving him as sort of like a weird abomination, sort of like, oh, kill me type thing. But at the same time, there were so many points of confusion where a guy dies and he alt tabs to re-read it because he's dead, right? And so now, and Ario has a problem too.
We all do that.
Because we all do that, right? It's like, it's 60 seconds, man. I'm not going to stare at a screen for 60 seconds not doing anything. I'm going to read a Reddit article. I'm going to do that. But that was not the only problem. Also, you would revive people, and they were like, now you give me these weird abilities. Like I have a Q and an R ability, and I don't know when to use them, and I don't know how to use them. Like I would see players rezzing just to die again. And these are seasoned designers who play every day. And so it was so many – there's so many confusion points with it, and there's so much going on. And there was also the added thing of the Stukov player allows another player to do something cool, but that just means he's not doing something cool himself. This is a classic support problem, right? When you empower your allies, you're just sort of like the head cheerleader at that point. And so and that's not an insurmountable problem. That's certainly a tackleable problem. But for this heroic, we really couldn't work out all the kinks. And so much design work, so much tech work went into that. But we try to we try not to adhere to any fallacy of sunk costs, right? If it's not working, it's not working. It's just got to get cut. We don't ship bad stuff here at Blizzard. So I was really sad to see that go. But then we went back to the drawing board, and I thought about cool things he could do with his arm, and people really responded to all those. So I'm like, okay, that was a happy accident. I'm really glad with how these ended up. So yeah.
Okay.
I think,
Awesome.
I think that's the only stuff really that was cut on the drawing board. But he was. Some heroes are relatively easy, but he was a tricky one to get all this cool stuff going.
Yeah, I'm sure sometimes you can use some of that stuff again in another form for another hero potentially later too.
Oh yeah, maybe. Absolutely. I'm not. Some of these mechanics you're never down and out on them. You just have to say it didn't work for this cycle. We'll keep it in our back pocket. We'll try it in someone else.
Okay.
Right. So tying into the trickiness of bringing in a new hero into the game, so as you were developing Stukov, what were some of the best bugs and just random ability interactions that you ran into? Like, for instance, I'm thinking about how Massive Shove must have had some really interesting interactions.
The most hilarious thing for Massive Shove was that its collision detection wasn't bug free when we play tested. It is now, but back in the day, it didn't always hit the map boundary, and so you just end up pushing people literally off the map forever. And that was something of a common problem. It was always hilarious. Another bug was, I wouldn't call it a bug, but originally the cooldown of Massive Shove was even lower than it is now. It was also higher. We tried a lot of different numbers. Mm-hmm. And you used to be able to shove the Dragon Knight away. Mm-hmm. And Dragonshire has some very straight lanes. And so it would get to the point where you would shove a Dragon Knight all the way back to the enemy's fort, and then they would march all the way back, and the cooldown would be down, and you would just do it again from the safety of being behind your own gate. And it completely and the map guys were like, can we flag the Dragon Knight to not be shoved? And I'm like, yeah, that's probably the best.
That explains why I was trying to do that today. And I was like, oh, maybe I missed. Let me try this again. Okay, good to know. Cannot shove the Dragon Knight.
That's a good tip.
TBK, what do you got for us as far as just kind of a sport question?
Okay, so we promised everybody, like every single person that we talked to, ask him about support stuff. It's like you didn't need to tell me that. I was already going to do it. So we've had a lot of support changes recently. What is Blizzard's current philosophy / direction in regards to supports? Because it seems like you've been playing around with a lot of concepts lately, like with the mouth changes, taking away cleanse, some Brightwing changes, all the Uther remake stuff, as well, like I said, as cleanse being removed from several characters. It's in a few heroes kits as like a talent specific to them, but there's not a whole lot of generic cleanse left. We've heard, it seems to me we're kind of in this, it seems like you have a plan, but we're in this like weird mid state of supports don't necessarily, not everything's changed over to whatever new system you're heading to, or do you like cleanse, or are you trying to remove cleanse from the game? Is this, whatever this is, potentially this middle ground causing a lot of these double support comps we've seen as late? So what's you guys' whole like idea and philosophy, and what direction are you moving, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I got you. So this is a very contentious question around the office, and I definitely sat down and talked with a couple of balance designers in order to get prepared for this. We do have a plan. We absolutely have a plan when it comes to supports. So when they're doing all the reworks, the main goal from a high level philosophy is to make them more engaging to heal. A lot of supports can be engaging to play, but not necessarily to heal. And so I don't think we'll ever design another healer that just has a point-click heal again. Like we have Uther, we've sort of done that, and so we want to make it rewarding to be a skilled healer, to land a skill shot, so to speak, or to heal at the exact right time when a lot of different other moving parts are going. So from that perspective, a lot of the reworks are about making healing more engaging. From an enemy standpoint, a lot of these reworks are about finding ways to counter supports within the game, because I think there's a lot of importance in countering support in the draft stages, but we want more counterplay. Let's say you do get outdrafted, or let's say they have a dark horse pick, as their final pick or something like that, and they completely throw you for a loop, right? We don't want the game to be over at that point. That's absolutely not what we want. We want you, at least the talent system, to be able to come back into it and to counterplay against these picks as you fight them in the battlefield. And so that's a lot of what making Cleanse a rarer sort of ability is all about. And we want Cleanse to be rare. I believe extremely rare was the verbiage that I was told to say.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because Cleanse represents a counter to so many things in the game that it can be impossible to counter Cleanse itself, so to speak. So more recently, we like what Cleanse does as a support role, where you see an enemy is getting CC'd a lot, and we want a support to be able to help them. So what we've been doing recently is focusing support talents more around cleansing or countering, so to speak, specific types of CC, which makes them more focused into that role and is more digestible for the enemy and how they can work around it. And we sort of like what they do. I think the problem with Cleanse is that it does a little too much, right? It's rewarding. It feels good to use. It's definitely a Twitch-based cooldown, and pro players definitely use it to great effect. But there's so many things that can be removed by it that it can be difficult to design anything that can counter it, other than just waiting for its cooldown and playing around that, which isn't always fun.
Yeah. And I kind of like that. Uther obviously still has the Cleanse, but then on the same tier has the ability where it's not countering the stun itself. It's just making it more survivable.
Yeah.
So I do like that very much. Multi.
Okay, so my question is actually similar, but it's on a broader scale, so it's kind of tied into balance as well, as you know, but it plays into hero design too. So my question is more about, what direction is Blizzard going with regard to balancing shields, armor, and healing within the game? And this ties into character design in the sense that, lately we've been seeing a major increase in new heroes and reworks of heroes that place an emphasis on armor. So my question is that a sneak peek into Blizzard's approach to damage mitigation moving forward, or what kind of direction are you guys thinking there too?
Well, a lot of times, for a lot of new mechanics especially, we definitely have a wait and see approach. We'll test things internally, but a lot of times we have to say to ourselves, especially with big overhauls like when it comes to armor, we've been talking for armor for a long time before it even saw the light of day to the public, and we were just like, when are we going to do it? It needed tech, it needed art, it was a big undertaking, right? It was all that, and we're still iterating on it. And but the idea behind it was sound, and we wanted to see, I guess we didn't know exactly before armor was in the game how much of an impact armor would have. And so there's a lot of uncomfortable questions, just like, how much armor should a support give? How should it stack? Is there a cap? And that sort of thing. How does armor interact with Sunder armor or vulnerability, as it was back in the day?
Yeah.
A lot of interesting questions, which, if you can't find solutions for them, can actually sink your entire pitch for it. And so, but for armor, that wasn't the case. For armor, we poked all the holes we could in it. We talked about it a lot, and eventually we decided, let's go forward with it. Let's do it. And so now what you're seeing is the idea of we've put it out there in a soft way, but now with redesigns like Uther giving armor with his heals, now we're showing that we can sort of put it on base kits. Now we can show that a support can be about that. So now the next question is, now that we've seen limited success in that regard, is how far can we push it? So first it's conceptual, like, can we do it at all? Now it's, how much can we do it? And I think you'll see more of that in the future. Right, Uther gives a little bit of armor, but a lot of healing, right? Comparatively speaking, there might be a support in the future that gives a lot of armor, but a little bit of healing, right? I think Medivh is sort of like that in a way with his Force of Will. I guess you could call Force of Will 100 armor, right? It doesn't block any CC, but it mitigates all damage for a window of time, right? People consider that valid. People consider that a type of support. That if Medivh had a little top off hot on top of that, and the cooldown of Force of Will was comparable, he would be a full-blooded support. He would. We didn't want to go that direction with him, but it sort of shows that high armor amounts can equal a full support role. And you can sort of apply that also to shields and other similar mechanics like that. They're just different flavors of ways that we can sell supporting to your allies and also to enemies, where we can offer interesting counterplay with things like sundering shields or sundering armor or anti-healing, so to speak. And we're sort of you'll see with talents like on Zul and Varian, we try these things in small ways, but inevitably, more than likely, you'll see heroes having them on base kits as well.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So my next question here, not really support, just talents overall. And I actually got this from misreading some of Zul's changes in the previous patch. Have you ever all considered level 20 talents that instead of just altering the base heroic they picked, would alter whichever heroic you pick? So kind of the bad example I came up with was Thrall here, level 20 talent Eruption, where this makes, if you pick Sunder, it burns enemies hit for extra damage over time after the stun. Or if you picked Earthquake, it applies more damage over time the longer the enemy heroes are in the area. Or then there's Glacial Freeze, which Sunder applies % slow after the stun expires. Or if you went Earthquake, it roots targets in the target area if they're in there for more than 3 seconds. So, with the Zul, I interpreted it as the poison instead of the skeletal warriors becoming poison, kind of the mages, and adding that slow. So,
no, I think it's a real interesting idea. I definitely think there. Right off the bat, my first inclination would be to you have to make it digestible in the moment. The thing about talents is brevity is the soul of wit when it comes to talents. Is you have to you have to be tight on the descriptions and things like that, and especially if you have like a what you have in your pitch is an if then else statement, which is essentially if you have this, then else you have this, and that can be tough in the field. Yeah, when you got like a Zeratul on your ass or a Nova lighting you up, you're like, what talent do I pick? I just gotta pick one, right? But that's a solvable problem. That's absolutely what I would call a solvable problem. I would say right off the bat, I'm not a UI designer, but I would maybe want to split this into 4 talents, where 2 of them are only selectable based on the heroic that you actually have. Yeah. Which is a cool idea, right? And what you're basically pitching at that point is 2 level 20s for each heroic, and I think that could work. Yeah. And I think that would totally be cool to see. Right now, we sort of de facto just have 1 level 20 augmentation of a heroic for each heroic, and then we throw a couple things on top after that. And it's a system that's worked so far, but we're always talking about interesting things to do with heroics in regards to how we modify them. Like I designed Alarak, for example, and from the very beginning I said I want you to be able to pick the other heroic. I want to see that happen. And so and thankfully we play tested it and it worked out okay. It wouldn't work out on every hero. Like a Nova would be a very poor example of where to do that, because that would just be more burst damage. She would just front load all of her damage and it wouldn't be anything. Alarak, both of his heroics are somewhat situational, so it would definitely work out. With your pitch as well, I do think there's legs to it. I do think it would work out. The main problem would be the complexity issue. But otherwise, philosophically speaking, I think it's totally valid. Yeah, it seems like a cool idea because, level 10s, the heroics are, you want them to be able to be picked by situation, what you're currently going through in the game. And then the level 20 and stuff, instead of just expanding on that, being able to say, okay, the game's going this way, I need some more, slow or maybe a little bit extra damage. So just could be some interesting stuff there. Totally. All right, TBK, back to the hard stuff. What do we got?
All right. So what do you guys think of the double support meta that has started to become more prominent as of late? As a lot of these, since like I was talking about, we're kind of in that middle ground right now between half of these supports are on kind of your new style, and some of them have yet to be reworked. Some of them probably have reworks going through. I know we heard at one point in the Reddit Q&A that Morales is getting a rework of some sort at some point. And because of that, and because
she got
some
a pretty
of these
great
Steelers,
one, by the way. I don't think I can say much about it, but I like her rework quite a bit.
Well, we will take anything you can say about it. I love Morales. She got so much fun for me after you guys added the detonate whenever you wanted to for the grenade. On E. That just opened up so much like extra fun with her. So anything that amps her up some, I'm super excited about. But like right now we've got some supports that are kind of niche in certain areas, and it seems like teams are now taking 2 supports a lot of the time that kind of complement each other. And of course, I mean, it makes sense, right? This support can cover this support can cover that, but then at the same time, it can lead to these extremely drawn out battles, these fights where no one dies or very few people die, or it just becomes a super sustained thing. What do you guys think of? Because we've seen that a lot in HGC, especially Hero League,
Sure.
the double support coming in. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? Is that something that you're intending, or is that something, or you're intending more the one support per team and not necessarily intending two supports to make a team that much better?
Sure. Well, I got a very terse answer from the balance designers when I asked them about this question, and they said it's fine sometimes, but we don't want to see it all the time. And it was a very quick response too, because I happen to believe it's very strongly on their radar right now. I think they're having a lot of discussions about it. They're having a lot of talks about it, not as a problem, but more as an observer of a phenomena. And so we don't. It's very easy to take a heavy-handed approach to these sort of things, and just sort of just murder a meta, just murder a play style, right? That's absolutely the worst thing we want to do. We'd rather it persist in a slightly broken state than taking a sledgehammer to it and making our fans very angry. And so I think they're talking a lot about how to execute a light touch to turn maybe a phenomena they're seeing 30% of the time into something maybe they're seeing only 10 to 15% of the time. And I don't know what they have cooking up there, but I think it is on their radar, and I think it is fine sometimes. It is fine sometimes. The issue, I'm not a balance designer, but as this one dude's personal opinion, I think double support teams on both sides tend to slow down games quite a bit. And when I watch games, I love watching games. I love watching HGC. We do it all the time here at the office. It's always on Twitch and the other monitor, so to speak. We're big fans. Double support games on both sides tend to create a lot of conflict between the two teams. A lot of skirmishes, a lot of scuffles, a lot of contact between both the teams, but not a lot of deaths. And it can be this weird sort of moment where you'll see two teams duke it out hardcore for like 45 seconds. I mean, really giving it to each other with abilities and whatnot. And then they'll both walk away with no deaths. And the shoutcaster's like, well, that was strange. They really gave it to each other, and there weren't any deaths. And it's like, that's fine as a sort of a weird anomaly every once in a while. But if every battle does that, then we have a problem, right? It's important to get kills. Kills are critical for being able to end the game, for being able to establish dominance over the team, if you're able to get map objectives done. People got to die in order for all of these things to happen. So I think that's why they're worried about it. It's not the end of the world. I think I can safely say that we absolutely would not want to see a 3 support meta or something like that. And so there's definitely an upper limit, or a no support meta, right? Like we make these supports for a reason. So there's definitely upper limits to these things, but like I said, light touches.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I completely agree with you. Just as a viewer, as someone who watches HGC a whole lot, it can definitely, if there's too much of it, especially like you said on both teams, it can take what should be epic moments and turn them into, well, nothing really just happened. Type moments. So that's great to hear that they are aware of that, and it is something on their radar for sure.
Oh, I can definitively say there is little that they are not aware of. We are our own biggest critics. Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's cool.
All right. And
cool.
Multi?
Okay, so mine's really quick. Back to hero design. And I'm glad I'm asking you this because you've worked on some of the Overwatch heroes previously. So, when it comes to Overwatch hero design, so far we've seen some really actually great efforts of making sure that their kit in Overwatch is translated into heroes very well. We've seen some tweaks to, through talents and some extra heroics and that sort of thing. But my question to you is the heroes team open to the concept of developing an Overwatch hero in the Nexus whose kit diverges completely from their Overwatch kit? And I'm thinking in particular about my girl Mercy, of course, because if I think of her right now, it's like, all right, well, we've already got a single target beam healer in Morales, and I don't think I have to tell you how broken an AoE resurrection would be in Heroes of the Storm. So, like, my question then is there any chance at maybe coming up with one that has a completely different kit from an Overwatch?
I think you bring up a great example. There are many heroes in the Overwatch genre or the Overwatch IP that lend itself perfectly to Heroes of the Storm. But that list is drying up because we're doing them. We're launching them. With a hero like Mercy, I mean, everyone loves Mercy, but it's just like, well, it's Morales with a better Ariel Resurrect. What do we do there, right?
Right.
I don't have a clean answer for you. What I will say is we do work very closely with the Overwatch team. They're very hands-on, unlike any of the other teams when it comes to designing a hero, because they want to make sure we release the best X possible, right? The best D.Va possible, the best Genji possible. And they've been very helpful in that regard. And also in terms of like the little details, right? The little things that you don't sort of expect, like the recovery time on certain abilities, especially Twitch-based heroes like Genji and Tracer. Just like how often do you expect Tracer to be meleeing? Because she's meleeing off a lot. And sometimes their answers will surprise you, just like, oh no, she's meleeing way too much for us. Or no, we're fine with how much she melees, right? And so and those questions can be very telling for which ability should be a part of the base kit or which ability should not be a part of the base kit, right? I think if we ever were to tackle Mercy, we probably would not do Morales Beam with a better Oreo Resurrect.
Right.
we'd want to do something new, and we want to do something great, and we want to do something very Mercy. I think it would take a collaborative effort between our two teams, and it would be something of a Herculean effort in that regard. Probably why we're putting it off a little bit, but sure. I do think it's doable. I do think yeah, I don't think a hero like that would be completely off the list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear how the two teams communicate about all that. So that's very cool. Yeah.
All right. And then as a hero designer who has designed both heroes that are, people have played before, characters they've played, and people we haven't played like Stukov, which do you prefer? Do you have more fun trying to bring the fantasy alive of somebody that players know, or do you like the freedom of somebody, say, like Stukov, to where you can kind of just build upon what his current feel is from the game, since there weren't actually any playable abilities before?
Well, I would say both are rewarding in their own way. I had the honor to work on Tracer and D.Va, who are absolutely my two favorite heroes from Overwatch. I think when my lead asked me, hey, what is the most important hero you'd like to work on? I like to tell him, well, we already shipped D.Va, so I'd have to think of something else. Like, I love D.Va. I love D.Va. And it was such an honor to work on her. And I wasn't bothered at all by the fact that I wasn't able to think of many new abilities. That was mostly about translating a kit, because really the devil's in the details. There's a lot of work involved with getting things just right, getting things to feel right. What you see shipped is oftentimes not what we try internally, and sometimes we have the best ideas and the best intentions for how to implement things, and boy, it just does not work out, right? And this is especially true of these Overwatch heroes, which have they're so responsive in their game, and the Overwatch team is so good at making these abilities feel so good that it can be tough in our game sometimes. It can be really tough to translate that into sort of a third-person isometric that we have. Mm-hmm. I have a perfect example for this. Back when we were doing Tracer, and this was before Overwatch was even shipped, by the way. And so people were really, Team 4, and both our team and the Overwatch team were very invested in how Heroes Tracer was going to play and how she was, because we were all holding our breath hoping that Overwatch would be successful. And so back in this day, I had fought for Tracer to be WASD controlled, and then you sort of point and aim her gun with your mouse, right? I believe there's MOBAs that do this today. I've seen a couple of them. I don't know any offhand, but basically WASD controls where you aim your skill shots with your mouse cursor, right? And you're just sort of playing like that. We got it stood up. It works in our engine. It does. It's draining for our game. It's really draining. I can't comment on how other games do it. I'm sure there's a lot of their own problems to tackle, but man, you play one game with Tracer and it's just like, I gotta take a break. I can't. Yeah. It's too much to think about. She's so fragile, and I'm mashing W and A to try and get away, and it's not working. And I gotta aim everywhere to shoot, and I'm trying to hit Zeratul blinking around. I gotta swipe my mouse all over the place, and so. But I thought, well. But that's the most Tracer that ever Tracer. That's how she's very twitchy in Overwatch. I thought I'm just fulfilling the fantasy, right? And it took me a long time to let go of it, but it was absolutely the right move to let go of it, because sometimes you can get too far in strictly translating how a character feels and plays, right? So you just sort of have to do what's best for heroes. Heroes of the Storm, that is. Mm-hmm. But to go back to your question, that in itself is rewarding, but there's also the rewarding factor in getting carte blanche to design something. Stukov especially, where he wasn't really playable, no one really knew what he did, and you just sort of like, I got the call, just design anything, right? Throw out a bunch of different pitches, right? Let's see what works here, because no one really knows what he's like, and that's a different sort of challenge and a different sort of set of rewards, where you sort of building something from nothing, and I would say it's far less easy in the long run than a kit that's given to you by another game, but it's also it can be more rewarding if it works out. There are things about Stukov, like I said, we're our own harshest critics. There are things about Stukov that I don't like that I wish we could change. I don't want to air out any dirty laundry and things like that. I think he's a great launch, things like that. As the hero designer, all I ever see are the flaws, right? Just like, that could have been a little different. That could have been a little punchier, or could have hit a little harder, so on and so forth. But at the same time, it is an honor to work on these heroes, and these things that came before you and will be here after you is very rewarding.
Okay. All right, cool. Nate. Well, we appreciate you coming on here very much and spending some time with us. I know you got to get going here, but I have one last question here for you, and I want to make sure and preface this with like not considering what's coming out, who's being worked on, anything like that. Chat room, before you take this the wrong way. What hero do you yourself personally want to see most in the game?
You know this is a recent phenomenon, but you know who I want to see personally? Well, I'll start by saying back when we had some pro gamers visit and tour our office, we have a lot of whiteboards around, and we usually just throw a blanket over them or throw something over them so they don't see, right? Yeah. But I originally had the joke, like, let's not cover one whiteboard, and let's be very nonchalant that we forgot to cover it, and let's put a list of in-dev heroes that they can glance and slyly like see, right? And let's have them all be wrong, right? Let's all think of the worst heroes we could do. So we were like Gammon or like from WoW or or other heroes like that, right? Just some of the worst ideas we could possibly think of. One of the heroes that came out of that list that I would actually personally like to see is, it'd be a joke hero, but I always wanted to see Patches the Pirate, because he drew so much attention to Hearthstone. Like no one knew or cared who the heck Patches the Pirate was. Like they made him up, right? But now he's just iconic at this point. Like he's infamous about who he is and how he just like comes out of nowhere, right?
And now he's in charge.
Now he's in charge, right? And so I always think it would be funny to have a hero where you pick a normal hero like Vala, but you're not really Vala. You draft Patches. And like the first time you die, or the first time you get a killing blow or whatever, Vala turns into Patches, and he's like, "I'm in charge." And he's basically just coming out of nowhere, right? Sort of like how he comes out of the deck. It's just like, "Oh, I wasn't fighting Vala, I was fighting Patches the whole time." And then Patches has his own kid and does this whole thing. I think it'd be a fun surprise.
The chat is asking that you please don't bring the pirate meta into Heroes of the Storm.
That's exactly why I want to do it.
I say do it, yeah, personally.
All right, Nate. Well, thank you again very much for coming on the show. We appreciate all you guys do, over at Blizzard on the Heroes team.
We appreciate you guys doing this. I mean, this is great. You guys have been keeping this going for so long now. It's amazing. Yeah, we don't have any plans on stopping anytime soon, so you guys give us plenty to talk about. So just keep doing that. We'll keep playing, and we'll, hopefully be able to do this at some point again down the road. Absolutely. All right.
Thanks so much for coming.
No, thank you.
Yep. All right.
That's some good info.
We did. We got some fun questions in. We got some hard-hitting questions in. We got some good answers in.
Some solid answers, yeah.
So
great having them.
Before we get into the rest of the show here, TBK, have you been doing all right? Are you able to keep up with the giveaways?
No, we're good.
Okay, fantastic.
Cool. We're good.
So those will continue to go. We're going to get into kind of the rest of the regular show here. There will be keys continued to be given out here. So, man, fun guy to talk to. Great guy to talk to.
Yeah,
for sure.
Lots of good stuff. He's actually designed some of my favorite heroes.
Yeah,
like I love Ariel, super unique. Lucio translated extremely well. Alarak. Super fun hero. Mm-hmm. So and then Stukov now. Like it's hilarious. It seems it's funny, but it seems like pushing people off the map would be a bug. Like that just seems like something that would be almost like you're unable to stop that from being like one of the initial bugs. It's just like
I wanted to chime in and suggest that they just leave that in there because that sounds awesome. But yeah, I could see how obviously several issues.
We only have so much time.
Exactly.
Sadly, to interview, but they're super nice to give time, especially being a little later than normal business hours there. But I would love to see, remember Mario Party? And like the original Mario Party where you're all four on one of those little balls and you're trying to push each other off the edge. We need a brawl where there's 5 Stukovs and you're trying to arm push each other off the edge.
Oh, they're
very sweet.
Of a map.
Yeah, they're with the pool party that just came out. There has to be something with this push.
It's like the opposite of
the
pool
opposite
party,
of pool
right?
party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's kind of cool.
That'd be so much fun. And just make it on that little cliff too. Just copy Mario Party. Just throw it on a cliff.
Yeah, tiny floating island or something.
Yep,
yeah,
tiny floating island, and then just go crazy and see who can get the most points in a certain time limit or something.
Yeah, you're bringing me flashbacks about the first Mario Party. That was the one where you had those cranking games where you had to take the N64 controller joystick and just like circle jam
where
it
they
with
actually
your
got
hand.
sued and they had to send you a glove to be able to do that. Yep.
I got a blister too. I didn't file suit. Maybe I should have, but yeah. Anyway.
All right. So let's go ahead and before we get into the news and stuff this week, real quickly, just go over here what we got going on for the weekly collection update this week.
So this week, Arthas and Cho'Gall are on sale for gems. We also have the featuring Butcherless skin, the Void Claw Rhaegar, Chaos Azgul'dan, Angelic Corruptor Cho'Gall, Flame Master Chen, and Glam Metal ETC on our skin list for sale. And then Tyrael's Charger and the Glorious 2017 Championship banner are also on sale for gems. So Butcherless skin is awesome if you don't have it. That's a great one to pick up. The Void Claw Rhaegar is very cool looking as well. And the Flame War Master Chen is one of my favorite Chen skins too.
Yeah. No regular horse this week.
No regular horse this week.
I for some reason I kind of miss it. I don't know why. All right, hero rotation.
Hero rotation, we've got Dehaka, Gazlo, Gul'dan, Johanna, Malfurion, Ragnaros, Rhaegar, Sylvanas, Thrall, Vala, and then at 5, we've got Sergeant Hammer. 10, we got Falstad. 15, we have Samuro, and 20, we got Rexar. So actually quite a few of our Hearthstone heroes in here. I'm so glad he brought up patches, by the way. Love me some patches. Favorite card in the MSG. Anyway, I digress. Solid set, though. Can't go wrong. You got your standard Malf and Vala combo, which, he doesn't have cleanse anymore, but you can still make it work, guys. He's got that heal reduction on his roots. Just play him. I don't even care. Just Moonfire spam.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hop right on into the news. All right. So first up this week, not just heroes related, but something that has kind of been spotted that we have been asking for since I believe like 2012 or 2013, and that is appearing offline in Blizzard games. And this was first noticed in some
Hearthstone stuff.
Yeah, some Hearthstone stuff. And Global Friendless Challenge button, I'm appearing offline, just from some notes. And then Jeff Kaplan came from the Overwatch team and was talking about how he would love to see an appear offline option in Overwatch. They're in the process of coordinating with not only Battle.net, but the other game teams, because everything is kind of cross-game now. But it's not as trivial, especially for Overwatch, as they would hope. But, he's talked about how he absolutely agrees it has not been moving at a rate which is acceptable. Like I said, this has been since like September 2012 that we've been wanting this.
They announced this in 2012. It's been 5 years since they announced this.
In the coming months.
This is the longest development ever.
Yeah, I mean, they did say in the coming months. They didn't say how many months. But this will just be, it'll be nice to have for getting, we have a show coming up. I should be playing a lot of the new hero, but now I can go play some Overwatch or Hearthstone without TBK being like, Gizmo, you should be playing heroes right now, practicing. He won't know I'm online because I can appear offline.
That's right. So, you can be sneaky.
or multi, I don't know. It'll just be nice. And
to stay away from me? Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I just want to stay away from everybody. Sometimes you just want to be in your own little world there.
I get that. Yeah. And, Hero League kind of does that to me. Sometimes I log on and I'm just like, I just want to get a couple games in, I could see myself using this. And so, okay, if they did data mine some of this from the new Hearthstone patch that just came out, I know there's some other stuff that was in that data mine regarding an event that's going to take place right after Knights of the Frozen Throne comes out, also known as KFT, which I'm super excited about. So my guess would be, you know, if that really does all launch at the same time, then we could be looking at August for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. It's really interesting because I was listening to Core this morning, and they were kind of talking about this too, and how most of their opinions were actually kind of leaning toward they don't like it, and it was kind of interesting because Blizzard has had this whole be social mindset for so long, and I can kind of understand that point of view. At the same time, every single like platform like this has an appear offline option, like Steam or whatever. What's EA's one? The Origin.
Oh God.
That tells you how many times I use that.
I forgot that existed.
But most of these type of platforms have an appear offline option, so it honestly, I don't think it matters too much. I wouldn't be mad if whenever you launched a game, if you're in offline mode, if it popped up something and said, do you want to remain in offline mode or something like that in case you forgot to turn it back on or something like that.
Because there will be people who do. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind there being some sort of a prompt. Just, oh, yeah, crap, I was in offline mode. I'll jump back in with people. But, I mean, otherwise, I think offline mode would be great.
Yeah, it's
just good to have.
It brings up some interesting things, like we were talking about in Convert Trade last night, how I think they said in somebody mentioned in Guild Wars, when you're in offline mode, you don't even have access to guild chat. So them having to think of that stuff, because I've never thought of it to that level before, because, you know, if you're offline, okay, now your friends see you popping up in guild chat. Plus it makes sense on, like, if you're just wanting to get on real quick, go run a couple quests or log into Heroes, knock out a few of the daily quests, and not being able to see the chat that's going on. I don't know what they'll decide to do with that, but just some more interesting stuff to think about.
So wait. So is Guild Wars without the guild just wars?
Yeah, I guess. It's
that's all it is.
Yeah. Wars 3 coming out, folks.
All right. Next up from Ali SC2, he had found some stuff in the cache, in his caches, his files, in regards to esports in-game assets. So we had talked about on PTR, there were the banners with the esports team logos and stuff like that. There are apparently some more stuff that have been found. So it looks like this is something that is happening, hopefully sooner than later, because I would love them. And still kind of yet to be seen how it'll be implemented.
Sense to have esport team either banners or sprays or something. Like, everyone wants to be able to kind of rep their team, right? And so it just makes sense to have your HGC things. And it's pretty cool too, because they've got like 2017 over the logos and stuff, so they'll be able to change these out. There's like a Mighty, there's the MVP Black, MVP Miracle, Tricked, Fnatic, Dignitas, and they'll have the 2017 over them, so that I'm sure they'll be able to add these things in. So maybe there'll be a new banner for 2018 if Roll20 Esports or Fnatic or Dignitas or whatever stay in through the next years and stuff. So it'll be kind of a collector's thing too, which is
exactly cool. Like, years down the road, you can come back and say, oh, I've been following Gale Force Esports since 2017, you know, and just be an added little flair for you. So that's cool. Yeah. And this image is very convincing of his cache. So got a lot of the teams in here.
And it will be interesting to see if they end up doing revenue share type things with this, because they did it for one or two of the mounts. Because I don't think they did it for the Cloud9, because the Cloud9 one was the original, if I remember right, and that one was sold for gold. And then I think the next one or two were like $5 mounts. Yeah, where a portion of that, where a portion of that went to the team. So that'll be an interesting thing too, if this is a good way for Blizzard to incentivize more orgs even with revenue share models. Because, I mean, the big thing last night / today was Overwatch League announces 7 teams, blah, blah, blah. There's revenue sharing options. There's all that stuff. this is pretty much how you do it. I think League of Legends does something similar, where teams or winning teams or whatever can get their own types of merchandise or cosmetics or whatever, and then they get a portion of those proceeds in the store. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and here's a thought with kind of the timing of this stuff coming out. Maybe, just maybe, we will see this kind of like how Dota works right now. BlizzCon's coming up here. That's going to be like the championship for the year. Maybe they'll release all of these on the store for money, and purchasing these, not only will a portion go towards, if it's set up to where you can buy a specific team, a portion going to that, but then another portion, or even perhaps the rest of the portion, going towards the prize pool, building up the prize pool even bigger than it is.
I would love to see that.
For Blizzard.
I would love to see that.
We've been talking for some time about how some of the other games have that as an edge against Heroes, sort of, in terms of like raising large prize pools. And yeah, I'd throw in.
Yeah, I mean,
especially if I get a little spray or something on the side too.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like Blizzard's prize pools have been amazing. Like we talked about, several months ago, I think Heroes was ranked 4th in total prize pool throughout the year for 2016. But
which is pretty crazy
per player and that sort of thing. Yeah, they've got really good stats. It's true.
It's not, what was Dota last year, like $13 or $14.8 million prize pool. And a lot of that was from things like this, where it's funded by the community and being able to buy in-game items and things like that. So that would be really, really, really neat. Another thing, honestly, it hasn't been a hot topic for a while. I haven't seen people talk about it, but surrender mode, which you have in League of Legends after 20 minutes. People
came back up recently.
Yeah, people have been wanting that a long time ago. It came back up. Alan DeBerry took to the forums to give an answer, saying they're constantly evolving the game, and while they have learned to rarely say things like, we'll never do that, he said the straight-up surrender option is one of the things that will probably never add to the game. The games are short enough. There's too much potential for comebacks, which there absolutely is, and a straight surrender voting system is just going to create more toxicity. However, they agree that levers and other poor experiences can really hurt the game, so they're looking at things like loss forgiveness and other options to potentially fight that, which I still like my idea from last week about if, come up with some sort of algorithm where if people are typing a lot while they're alive, they're obviously not doing their job and they're probably yelling at each other. Easy on me when I'm not typing.
I like that Alan jumped in and addressed this, though. And Alan DeBerry, for those that you don't know, is the game director now. He took over for Dustin Browder when Dustin left to go to one of Blizzard's other unannounced projects. And this was his first post on the official Blizzard forums. It's a good one.
The post right underneath it is someone just saying, wow, DeBerry actually posted something. So it's true. I'd like to hear from the gentleman a little bit more. But this is great. This is the kind of insight that we like to see. And I personally totally agree with his position here regarding the surrender function, because in my experience in League of Legends, and for anyone that's come over from there, I'm sure you've had a similar one where, if the game's not going so hot, sometimes half the team will just be like, all right, so surrender at 20. And then you just kind of dink around and maybe get some creep score, and then everyone just surrenders. So I've never wanted to see that here, and that he doesn't either is a good sign to me. So yeah, I agree.
It makes sense that these games are not fast enough, or they're not long enough. That's probably the better way to say it. They're not long enough for a surrender option to be needed.
Except
it's 20 minutes on average.
I will say I have had more long games this past month than I have in a long time.
Has it been double support? Because I've noticed
not always.
Could be part of it.
Those have been just because of like all the Hero League and Team League stuff, and even in unranked, I've been seeing it. When both teams have double support, like Nate was saying, the games just take longer.
Yeah,
on average. And
I've had a lot of teams too who just don't take decisive action. Like you finish a big group fight and then it's like, okay, let's core, and half of them just go take camps. You know what I mean? But some of that's some quick match fallacies that happen there. But so yeah, I think it's a mixture of all of that.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of depends on what you run into.
And a lot of mine have been in here. Like for instance, today I had a 38-minute match on Dragonshire. where 12 minutes in, the enemy team had 2 structures left, 2, and we had all 6. This is one of those instances where that team probably would have surrendered if that was an option. Guess what? We threw so hard, and with 2 structures up, they managed to drag the game on 26 more minutes and come back and win.
Yeah.
See, but that's playing into DeBeery's point, is that they had a potential for a comeback and they came back.
For sure. And they talk about the lost forgiveness and stuff. We don't know what that is exactly, if it's going to be, maybe just less point, if it's in ranked, less points taken away from you.
A lot of that, I think, refers to, or at least in the past has referred to, say, you're in a Hero League game and one of your players disconnects, becomes a bot. That sucks. You still have a chance to win, but your chances definitely decrease a lot when you have a bot on your team, especially depending on where the stage of the game is. If it's like right at the beginning, those chances especially go down. If it's at the end, maybe, and you're ahead or something, then it might be a little easier to still win. But more like, okay, you got a bot in your team, someone disconnected, okay, you lost the game. You're only going to lose half or a quarter of the points that you would have lost otherwise because of that.
Yeah, and this is kind of off topic, but
that type of thing.
Yeah. I still kind of want the enemy team to not know it's a bot, because then it leads to like a change in their gameplay a little bit. They might say, "Oh, the Stitch is disconnected," and they're not.
I don't think they
follow anyone, so just focus them. No,
didn't they take that out to where it doesn't notify the other team if somebody disconnects?
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they took that out.
No, yeah, I don't think you know an enemy teammate. Disconnect.
I know that was initially a problem, but
yes, it was.
Maybe it's been a while.
You may suspect when they start running 1v5.
Yeah, exactly.
Except as chat says, except for Murden bot, you can't. I mean, if you get a Murden bot on your team, obviously your win chances go up.
Yeah,
of course.
Obviously.
All right.
My mistake. Anyway.
So obviously, with our interview that we had here earlier, Stukov is in the game now. There was a patch to come along with it. And, most of it was in the PTR last week, if not all of it, actually. But first off, since we talked about Stukov, I imagine you guys have gotten a chance to play him. What's your first reactions and how you're liking him, TBK?
He's so much fun. He's one of my favorite new supports. And I like it because, like Nate was talking about, he doesn't think there's going to be a huge chance that they ever do much more of the point and click heals.
Yeah.
And so Stukov, especially depending on how you take his talents, can be fairly high skill cap in a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways you can heal your teammates. There's a lot of ways you can get the most out of your kill switch. A lot of this is on your teammates too, though. And this just is kind of one of those learning curves for whenever you introduce a new character into the game. But people have not figured out yet that they need to group up or the distance they need to stay for his healing virus to jump from one person to another. And so I think that will help a lot, because I've been in games where people I throw it on somebody and they just run away. It's like, well, I healed a dude. And so a lot of times I'll be taking his, and the name escapes me off the top of my head because I haven't memorized all of them yet. The talent at 16 that allows you to pass it back from yourself, because then that allows you, along with some other talents, especially if you take your level 4 quest talent, where after 50 biotic kill switch heals, then the biotic kill switch actually heals for like 50% more, which can be insanely great talent. But taking that 16 talent allows you to control the passing a little more yourself, rather than rely on your team to do it, since it can jump back to you and then back to other people. But
yeah,
overall, his kit is so much fun. Massive Shove is one of my favorite ults in the game, and it's on a 20-second cooldown, and it's super fun to try and directionalize it whenever you do it, not just to knock someone back, but to get the maximum push value out of it too, and making sure you hit the right person. Like I was playing a Haunted Mines game the other day, and I kept massive pushing the Artanis on the enemy team, like basically all the way back down the lane. Nice. And we won several team fights because of it, because they had no peel, and one of their big frontliners was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Multi.
I was just going to say there is one potential fix that I've heard of for the issue with your team not stacking up properly and getting the most out of his Q. And I'm drawing on a similar heal. We have an issue with, of course, if you're playing Karazim, his W, the Breath of Heaven. I forget who it was. I think it was one of our listeners that recommended somewhere, maybe even months ago, that if you ping right beforehand, like if you start off the game, you're getting into Hero League or Quick Match or whatever, and you're playing one of these characters, you could start off and type in a quick blurb and say, hey, if I ping, I'm telling you guys to group up and maximize the benefit of this heal. So if you're running like 3 people in the lane and they've got that understanding, then you could just quickly ping in the lane. If your partners are able to respond to that sort of thing and pay attention at all, then they could group up and maybe get a little bit more out of the healing there. So there are ways to kind of work with your team, even if you don't really know them and have them on comms, to get a little bit around that. So just a thought for down the road. But,
yeah, for sure. And hopefully, I imagine it'll get better over time while people are getting used to it, because this at least has like the green icon where people will get used to, okay, this is over my head, especially like, oh, we're level 16. He went that talent. Now let's kind of, work my way back in to keep this thing going.
Yeah, and you do have to feel out the range, which comes with time, especially when you're not playing the Stukov and you're one of the people that's trying to spread it and that sort of thing. So yeah, you're right. I mean, these things will come with time as well. But in the meantime, that's just a little tip of something you could do to help keeping it cycling. So
yeah.
But otherwise, just general impressions. Yes, I kind of went nuts about this last week, and I'm still in the same boat. I love him. I think it's one of the most interesting kits that we've seen in some time. I feel like we haven't talked about it as much, but Lurking Arm, I think, is really interesting, and just how it works as both a wave clear and just a form of CC in the silence there, too. Plus, some of the talents you take with that are interesting. I still haven't really, and I don't know if this is true for you guys either, I'm not starting to gel with a build just yet, but, I mean, we've got until next week, right, to come up with something.
I think he's very situational.
He is.
I think he's one of the better heroes where a lot of his talents are viable depending on the situation, or even depending on your play style. I mean, at level 1, you've got a talent that can make his auto attack ranged.
Right.
Like that's a huge difference in play style just right from the get-go. So I really think the talent design for him was very well done. And I don't think there's necessarily going to be one correct build. There may be one or two tiers where there's this pick is probably overshadowing the others, but overall, I've been having fun going like E build, the pustule build, or just like big healing build.
Yeah. He's one of those heroes where like I feel like I have settled on like my build, and then there are different ways I can alter that depending on my comp, the comp I'm going against, which is really nice. So,
but your build is not the build.
Oh, it's the build.
It's not like.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, is it?
No.
It's,
well, now.
Gotcha.
It's the
well,
build.
I mean, contrast that to Malthael, though. I mean, at least it's been nerfed since then, but originally the Memento Mori build was kind of the build. So to see them not run into essentially that same problem here, at least hopefully by feel. I mean, we're going to see the win rates flesh out, but.
Yeah, and I feel like there will be a build when he is solo supporting. If we're still in this, duo support type thing, he has the options to kind of go kind of off support and more utility. So I think there will be a build, but we'll kind of explore that. And of course, next week we'll be going over him in our Hero of the Week, kind of with a build that we come up with here. So it'll be. And
interestingly, he's only been out, of course, for a day. But it's always kind of interesting to look at like Hotslog stuff and where he initially lands. And he's sitting at 46% win rate right now, which is kind of interesting. So, of course, that's just after a day. People have to get used to him. But it'll be interesting to revisit that next week and see kind of where he lands.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a learning curve in there. And you know what? I think that's at least a healthy enough launch. To start. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And for those of you that are here live with us this week who are maybe checking us out for the first time, that's kind of one of the things we do when new heroes come out a week after they have been in the actual game, not just PTR. We sit down, we kind of iron out a build that is, not the end all be all build, but a build that is good to start with. And
A
may
deep dive,
potentially,
pretty much.
it may potentially be, the best build, but something to start with, kind of be able to branch off from there. Whether that is solo queue, hero league, things like that.
Yeah.
All right. So some other stuff in the patch notes here. This one I love. If Heroes of the Storm client is minimized or not current focus in window, it will now retake focus in the following situations. If a player who was queued for matchmaking is removed from the queue, when a game is found while a player is queued for matchmaking, that is huge. Or if a draft is canceled and the player is removed from the draft lobby. So hopefully less situations of people going into draft mode and going away, stepping away, pulling up Reddit, whatever, and getting a random pick or forgetting to ban.
Well, stepping away is still a problem, but if they're there enough to
just don't step away, folks. Come on,
yeah, come on.
It's like Nate says, we're all reading Reddit on the side, but just focus back in.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Have you guys gotten to try the new Hanamura yet on live?
I
Because
have
Hanamura
not.
changes did go through from PTR like we discussed last week.
I haven't either, just hasn't queued up.
Yeah, I haven't had it.
It's interesting.
Okay.
Not fixed is what I'm hearing.
I still am not convinced. And granted, I've only played 1 or 2 games on it on live since the changes went through, but I don't know. It still feels like there's too much going on. Like I want the payloads to be more interesting. And it seems that for a lot of the games I play, most of the time payloads are just traded back and forth up until the end when it's super scary and it's your last shot. Then it's all about the payloads.
Yeah, I felt that.
Because
too.
otherwise it's fairly easy to trade back and forth, especially with 2 spawning. You get one and then you get the other one type thing. So I don't know. Like I'm still not, I need to play it a little more. I need to give it a chance, but I'm still not completely sold that it doesn't need something more to give the map more of a focus, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I was watching Kyle Ferguson stream earlier, and I saw that he was playing on it, but I wasn't able to really take anything away from it. So we'll see. They seem to be willing to change this, and they talked about other things that they were potentially, working on that didn't seem right. I know Bakery had a bunch of ideas, so we'll see if this is enough. If there's still enough backlash, who knows? Maybe they'll at least take it out of the map rotation
Maybe.
while it's worked on.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting. We'll give it we need to give it a few weeks to see how it settles, of course, and let it kind of flow from there. But I'm about ready to see it not in the next ranked rotation.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Which is sad because it's the new hotness still kind of, but yeah, there's just still issues.
It's again, it's a beautiful map. I love the idea behind it, but it may just potentially not be there yet. And it may now. Like I said, I haven't been able to play it. Dig into it.
I don't think we played enough on the new version to make any definitive statements.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it feels closer, like on paper, but you're right, without having been able to get in and feel it out.
Yeah,
that was just my initial impressions.
Sure.
Okay, so of course the Zul changes went in this week that are pretty big. I haven't had a chance to check him out yet, but there were some
fun.
Yeah,
I've heard great things. Yeah,
I don't know if he's weaker or stronger, but I'm having a lot of fun with his W and his new Q builds, like the triple scythes.
Yeah,
is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right, but there were some other changes that were not in the PTR last week. For instance, looks like Malthael here. His Reaper's Mark trait, the damage has been reduced from 2.5 to 2.25. Tormented Souls, the armor reduced from 20 to 10. And level 13, Ethereal Existence, the maximum physical armor reduced from 50 to 40. So I have played him today. and I'm still undefeated with him in Hero League, so he is still good to go.
I honestly think before it's all over, Reaper's Mark may end up being reduced to 2%.
Just flat out.
Just flat out.
It
I think,
still feels
because,
ridiculously strong.
This is definitely going to bring him down some, but I don't think this is going to bring him down enough.
Now, how about that
I think they're getting
Souls
close.
change, though? Because they literally halved it. I mean, it was never that much to begin with, but did you try it out and get to feel it yet?
For what?
The armor reduction on Tormented Souls?
Yeah, well, the first match, actually, today, I misclicked and went last rights.
Oh, boy.
It worked out. We still won. But, no, I have played Tormented Souls since, and you can tell, but, I mean, he is such a beast if you have the right team behind you that it really, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Just, have an Uther, throw Divine Shield on you, just kill everybody. It's all good. All right, so also here, Tyrande getting some changes. Her basic attacks per second have been increased from 1.25 to 1.33. Celestial Attunement at 4. Free cast window increased from 3 to 4 seconds, which is nice. Level 13, Quickening Blessing. Movement speed increased from 25 to 30%. Mark of Mending at 16. Heal amount while target is marked reduced from 3 to 2% of attackers' maximum health. Illune's Chosen also at 16. Cooldown reduced from 40 to 30. And level 20, Eye of the Huntress. Reveal time increased from 2 to 3 seconds. So some buffs, some nerfs. I think.
It was a burp.
Yeah, I think overall, I like Tyrande. I'm not sure she's quite where she needs to be for the solo support. There are situations where
not.
I mean, there's some situations where I've definitely solo supported with her.
She has
it's been
too
all right.
many mana issues right now, unless you really take her E talent.
Mm-hmm. That's what I take. That's the build I go.
That I think is my biggest problem with her right now is that I almost feel kind of shoehorned into that, or else I have terrible mana issues. And we've been kind of, I think I talked about this a week or two ago, the mana issues in just some of the old kits, like Kerrigan.
Mm-hmm.
You do 3 combos and you're dry. Jaina, like you do a few things, nothing. Tyrael, oh my gosh, Tyrael, terrible mana drain. And then you come with Stukov, who's got this AoE healing, this burst healing that he can do. His Lurking Arm doesn't cost mana while he channels it at all, just initial. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have mana issues. He doesn't have mana issues at all. And so it's kind of weird. There's a lot of the newer characters, a lot of the new heroes especially, have not seemed to have mana issues hardly at all. And so
including some supports like Stukov, as you said. Lucio's another one where, anyway, go on.
It just makes those heroes with very high mana usage a little awkward, because there's not, it's a smaller subset now, but it feels clunky. And so I feel like Blizzard needs to decide how they want mana usage. Like, if mana is really going to be the limiting factor, it should probably be a limiting factor on some more heroes. Otherwise, there's a small subset that are super mana hungry that I feel like could use some quality of life mana help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Tyrande with this rework, I think, is one of them, because I think in a lot of ways you're kind of shoehorned into your mana talent, or else it feels like you're running dry all the time.
Yeah, I got you there. And for me personally, I think the balance should be in there somewhere, because like in between those two extremes, like really mana hungry people and people who just don't even have to worry about it. Because frankly, as much as I like not worrying about mana on a mana user, I mean, I've got to think there's got to be some drawbacks for some of these folks. Like, again, I'm thinking about Lucio and how, you get so much of the passive healing. You're really only using your E every now and then when you can, and queuing when you have to, and you end up being super mana efficient. So I would like to see somewhere in between those two for a lot of these heroes, personally. But
yeah.
This would have been a great question for Nate. I know it's kind of a balancey thing, but it ties into character design, right? Maybe next time.
It's funny because in the developer comments here, speaking of our interview that we had, they talk about when people are asking for buffs to their data, they're noticing a lot of people attempting to solo support with her, and they are actively aware of the support role perception issue. So it's one of those things that, we'll have to see kind of what they have up their sleeve.
It's something I really hope we see addressed in some way. Like I said, through some quality of life stuff. There's just certain heroes that just feel bad or feel old or haven't been reworked or had their kits looked at in a while. And their mana usage seems to be based still off this old system. And it kind of feels like they've moved on from mana being, at least for the most part, a really bad issue.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It'll help her for sure, but I don't think she'll be there quite yet.
Sure.
All right. And then guys, we're back, Anubarak. It's been a while. Yes. We've missed them, but guess what?
I got worried that there wasn't going to be any help, that there hasn't been a health change for like 3 patches.
Which
I
is
was getting worried.
Hey,
I was getting so worried. It's okay. It's okay. We're back.
We're back.
We've got one.
Base maximum health reduced from 2003 to 1925. So,
yep.
We'll see if we can keep this going again. But also, basic attack damage reduced from 95 to 91. Locust Swarm damage increased from 50 to 62. Heal increased from 17 to 21, and duration reduced from 8 to 6. And then Cocoon. This seems to be a fairly big one from what I've been hearing.
This is something that people have been demanding, I guess is probably the best way to put it, for a long time now, just because Anubarak has been dominating the pro scene. And, I mean, just play in general. I mean, almost any Team Leader Hero League games I play, he usually ends up as either a ban or a pick before the second set of bans.
Yeah.
These days. So range reduced from 9 to 6, that's huge.
That is.
The biggest problem with him was that you felt like he could basically take out a back liner with that Cocoon from a completely safe distance.
Yeah, without risking actually blowing in and yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this kind of will help with that. And then the missile speed was reduced by 33%. I assume this is a cleanse thing or an unstoppable.
Yeah, it sounds like
gives you a little more of a chance.
Or maybe just gives you a little bit of an extra second to get out of position from where you were. I could see that maybe.
Well, and with the range reduction, I imagine at max range, it takes the exact same amount of time. They're both 33% reductions.
Maybe they're just building it in to compensate for it.
Yeah.
I could see that. Mm-hmm.
So, and then Epicenter at level 16, the bonus area reduced from 85 to 60%. So, it's
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think this will kill him. No. Because especially with the Locust Swarm buff.
Yeah.
Because this is a huge buff to Locust Swarm. 50 to 62 damage, 17 to 21 heal. It's 2 seconds less, but you're getting a lot more bang for your buck in those 6 seconds. And so it's going to reward you popping it at the right time a little more so than before, because you got to make sure you're in the heat of battle when you pop it. But that's a pretty substantial buff to Locust Swarm. And so I think that'll help offset the Cocoon nerf a little bit and maybe balance out the heroics a little bit more, because you want to take Locust Swarm, especially when you're up against heavy melee comps, when you can get in there and get a lot of value off of it. And it just kind of keeps you alive and just able to sustain through a ton of stuff. So I don't know. I think this it'll definitely knock him down some, maybe make him not first pick, first ban material, but I don't think he'll disappear at all because of this.
Yeah, we will see. I know Kyle was playing him earlier today, so I'll have to see what his opinions are. Collection updates. There are a few new bundles in the game. Stukov Heroic Bundle, the Admiral Krakenov skin pack, the Tearing It Up bundle, as well as some new skins. We got some new Stukov skins: Ariel, Chromie, Diablo, Illidan, Johanna, Kerrigan, Li Ming, Muradin, Rexar, Tyrael, and Zul. So make sure you all check those out. Any big bug fixes that you guys had noticed?
They fixed a lot of Stukov's bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
He definitely had a few.
It seems like he still
there's
may
a big
have
list
one.
of bug fixes in there.
Yeah,
Well, he's always going to have one growing out of his arm.
that's true.
Right? So,
But yeah, worth mentioning. I don't know if it has. I don't think it's been fixed yet. If you are a quick cast player, apparently there are some issues with his silence, his arm thing.
Yes,
canceling. Right after you cast
ahead
it.
of time.
Yeah,
I've experienced that once or twice.
So
in the meantime, should we do like quick cast on release, or what do you recommend?
probably. Yeah,
Probably.
I'd say yeah.
I didn't have any trouble with on release, so
I haven't encountered it that much, but it's definitely a documented thing. So
yeah.
I'm sure we'll get another hot fix, like bug fix patch here sometime next week.
Indeed. All right. Well, that's it for the news this week. Let's go ahead and hop on into the latest in the HGC. All right, TBK. So we're in phase 2, week 3. What is going on?
We are, but I first wanted to call out both as a lesson learned and as a kudos on the Blizzard side of things. So you may or may not know there's an open series that runs alongside HGC. And during this open series, any team can compete. They compete for points over several weeks, and then they have a big playoff. And at the end of the playoff, the top 2 teams of this open division, both for all the major regions, get to fight the lowest 2 teams in the HGC to try and take their HGC spot from them. So far, during phase 1, the HGC Open Division had been played on live servers, and that made things very awkward if they fell on, because they're played over 2 days. They're played Monday night and Tuesday night, with the semis and finals and stuff being on Tuesday. That was a big problem on patch days, when you played one patch on Monday and then played a second patch on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
So Blizzard / Gosu, who's kind of hosting this, decided that let's put them on the tournament realm, because the tournament realm is now the same patches as HGC, and they've been doing a much better job of getting to more recent or live patches much faster, which has been awesome, because it makes for a better viewing experience, and it more closely mirrors what you as the average player are seeing in game, instead of being 2 full patches behind or something. Unfortunately, on Monday morning, Gosu called out and said, "Hey guys, Open Division is going to be on the tournament server tonight." Well, crap. Unfortunately, because of the late announcement. Several teams had to forfeit.
Yep.
Because it's an 8 gig download. And some of us are blessed with good internet, but some people cannot download 8 gigs in just a few hours.
Well, some people have 20 minutes. Had 20 minutes to get home from work and then try and get this downloaded. It's not happening.
Because it's played from the Pacific side. So unfortunately, those teams were completely disqualified because they didn't have the tournament server. And that's just that. And it was especially maddening to some people, because the tournament server, as of Monday, the tournament server and live were on the same patch. And so there was definitely animosity. There's a big Reddit thread. Fortunately, that same day, the Gosu Gamer CEO actually responded to all this stuff that had gone down, saying the lateness of communication, the Gosu Gamers were actually informed a full 11 days in advance by Blizzard that this week's was supposed to be on the tournament realm. Mm-hmm. And so it's not Blizzard's fault. There was an internal miscommunication on their side, and they identified it and wanted to make sure it wouldn't happen again. But it's Gosu's fault, basically, that no one was notified, even though they themselves had 11 days notice.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big internal communication problem. Unfortunately, we can't go back and undo the ripple effects, teams that forfeited in round 1 and 2 due to not having the client patch. But what they can do is they reversed a ruling in round 4 match between one of the teams, and they played it yesterday instead. And they're also adding an additional cup to the HGC North America, complete with points and $1,000 of prize money. And that will be announced separately as news posted on Gosu, tied to the HGC Open Division Tournament Hub, as well as the official Discord server. So that's kind of there. apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sorry this happened. Okay, you're getting another cup out of this for the NA side. So that's good. It's awesome that there's fast communication. It sucks that there was an internal communication error it goes through that caused that announcement not to go out for 11 days. But I guess, I mean, what's done is done. That's beside the point. But I love the change in general. Moving the open divisions to the tournament server will help that feel a lot more real for those teams as far as being a part of the whole HGC experience and not have that weird Monday, Tuesday, completely different patch.
Yeah, that
scenario, which can happen several times.
Yeah, that has to be jarring for sure. So, and didn't we talk about it when we first learned about the tournament server that we'd hoped that this transition would happen?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I mean, it's good. It is good to see it finally happen. And I mean, despite everything that went down, it is also good to see the Gosu Gamer CEO actually come forward and own up to it as well, and offer something else to help compensate for all the issues that were caused. So it's it's one of those things. But I'm always glad to see them step up.
Yeah,
and admit to
I agree.
Jumping
over to the HGC side, Hcc EU. If you're not watching Hcc EU, you are missing out so much. Like, there is so much great competition over on the EU side. Like, so many teams have stepped up, and there's like a big 4 or even 5 right now vying for those top 3 slots, with really only Fnatic like that has pulled out way in front. But literally even Dignitas, Team Liquid, like they're not guaranteed that they're going to be going to the Western Clash right now, which is crazy. Yeah. And so, EU side has been amazing. NA side has been
weird.
It's been a whirlwind, and not the good kind necessarily. I don't know if there's a good kind of whirlwind, but it's the weird, crazy kind of whirlwind. Like, it's a sunny day, but then a tornado just appears out of nowhere, and you're just like, what happened? And then it's gone, and you don't know what to do. That's kind of how NA is right now.
Yeah.
So no tomorrow, with just one change, they changed Airhavat for Equinox, has just shot up, and they're doing extremely well, literally challenging the top teams right now. Gale Force barely beat them on Friday in a 3-2. And then Team Freedom, after I think Team Freedom just had one change as well and brought Curran, they've been going crazy as well. They beating pretty big teams that you would normally think those teams would do okay, right? They beat Superstars 3-0, which is a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. Tempo and Roll20 took their games 3-0 from Niventic and Even in Death on Saturday. Not a huge surprise there. But then Sunday, Team Freedom 3-1 Gale Force.
That they did.
What is going on? And after a rough last week, Tempo Storm did win both their series 3-0 and then a 3-1. But looking at the standings, like right now, Team Freedom is on top of North America right now with a 4-1.
Yep.
Gale Force is right behind them with a 4-1. No Tomorrow is right behind them with a 3-1. And then you have Roll20 and Tempo Storm in position 4 and 5. These are the mid-season brawl teams.
Yeah.
What happened? I'm at a loss, and it's crazy. And then you pop over to the EU side. Fnatic has actually 5-0'd, so they are actually already secure for the Western Clash. So huge congrats to them, and that's what you would expect to see out of a mid-season brawl champion, right? But then you have Liquid in second with 3-2, Expert in third with 3-2, and then Dignitas in fourth with a 2-2. Then you have Tricked, Team Good Guys, Zealots, and Playing Ducks. So the two brand new teams are actually a little bit above one of the established teams right now.
Yep.
But on the EU side, there's no team that hasn't won a game yet or hasn't won a series yet, which on the NA side, we got both Niventic and Even in Death that haven't won a series yet. So EU side is just being extremely competitive right now. It's really cool to see. And I don't know, NAU just it's kind of like it's kind of like a surprise birthday party, but they invited all the awkward people
Yes.
to it, and
So like every birthday party I've ever had.
Yeah, so it's fun to be there. It's fun to watch, but you kind of don't know what's going on a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone, if you would have asked for phase 2 predictions, I don't think this would have been it. Especially like props to No Tomorrow.
That were on the radar.
No Tomorrow is the big one for me here. Like if you asked me like who's going to improve, No Tomorrow or Naventic, I would have said Naventic. Like maybe they have a chance of getting into the top 5, top 4. But not No Tomorrow 3 and then Roll 20 and Tempo Storm 4 and 5. That's nuts. So there's still time.
And I would have thought Roll 20 would just roll in, and I mean they played so well against Korea. And it's very interesting to see this all flesh out.
Yeah, I mean, the top 5 teams still have a shot at getting into the Clash.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
it's
and the Europe battle is insane too. Because like there's 3 or 4 teams that could still get into the Clash, even after Fnatic already won, which is crazy too.
Yeah, that's gonna make these next few weeks really interesting, like moving forward. So. Just something to watch out for, guys.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Roll 20 has a big weekend this week, and they're playing both Team Freedom and Tempo Storm. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tempo got their groove back, because they were looking pretty shoddy, honestly, the first few weeks. But they kind of redeemed themselves last week. So hopefully it was just kind of a post mid-season brawl lull or something, just getting back on their feet.
All right.
It's been exciting though.
Yeah.
So make sure to check out that roller coaster this weekend. We'll kind of see who makes a move.
Roller coaster or tornado or awkward birthday party, whatever analogy you want to use.
I think I like the awkward birthday party.
Awkward birthday party.
So community content this week. TBK, what do we got?
There's some cool stuff.
There is.
Did you guys get to see everything? So first off, a Rexar skin, and this thing is freaking awesome by Echo Phoenix.
It's very what was the dungeon? Zul Armani?
Throne of Thunder.
Throne of Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
Very Throne of Thunder. I'm linking the picture in the live chat right now. You'll be able to see it in the show notes. It is one of the coolest Rexar skins concepts I've ever seen, and I want it right now.
Yeah, the Triceratops.
Like,
yeah,
it's so good. That is so freaking good. Please make it Blizzard. Please make it. Also, cool. I think Greg's trying to pull it up on the stream too.
I failed.
So that's. Oh, you failed.
Well, you tried.
It's
it's in chat, guys. If you want to see it, he does amazing concepts, so definitely check that out. Also on the community content, shout out this week is Seamus Aran, who, he titles his Reddit thread, "Do you like Dungeons and Dragons? What if I told you I made an entire Heroes themed supplement for 5th edition?" Dang.
Seriously,
that's impressive. So if you like D&D and you like Heroes, check that out.
That may be something we have to check out. I've been playing some 5th edition. You guys have been playing some 5th edition. I'm going to be back in Kansas City.
Ooh.
That's right. Yeah, you're coming back for a little while, aren't you? So,
yeah. So Blizzard, you make the Dinomancer Rexar skin, and we'll play Heroes D&D while we wait.
Yep.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to some listener questions this week. All right. So first up, we actually had a listener.
A giant black screen.
What? It's there again? What? I told you to go away. There.
Production values, guys. Production values.
I am so pro. Listener Chillrog last week had sent in an audio file, which is really cool. It's our first one that we've gotten, and you guys are more than welcome to send these in. Just if you do, try and keep them around a minute-ish, 2.5 minutes, and we'll play them on the show. But here is the question from Chorog.
Hey, Lords of the Storm crew. Chorog here. Really big fan. Awesome show. Keep up the great work. I just wanted to bring up the matchmaking issues that have come from the new Team League system really quickly. So, at high MMRs, with the new system of kind of only fair matches, you know, no Grandmasters against gold kind of thing, we're seeing for 5 stacks kind of indefinite queue times, which is kind of a bummer. So me and my friends are like around Master Plus, somewhere in there, and when we queue up as 5, we 2,500 second queues. No matter how long we wait, we're not getting a game. So a lot of other Master teams have experienced the same thing, and the kind of fix we've just kind of gone with is put 1 or 2 people on a Smurf on bronze or gold account and just roll as 5, and then we still kind of have the same mismatch kind of artificially created this time. Yeah, and one of the most surprising results from this actually is that there's been such a lack of games, availability of games for the higher end, that there are no North American Masters right now. There are so few high-end people who are able to accumulate points that it's only 88 Grandmasters and no Masters and Diamond. So, last season, towards the middle of the season, we had a very huge Masters section. We had 8,000 points it took to get to Grandmaster once you broke out of Diamond. And now, demotion game from Master down to Diamond, you're actually a Grandmaster because there's nobody with points. So yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on this. Is it okay because it's more fair for everyone below Diamond? Is it a problem? Could there be a better system? I just want to get the Lords of the Storm perspective on this one. Thanks for the great show, guys. Keep up the great work. Bye.
All right. So
Yes.
this was a very interesting situation. I am not Grandmaster, so I've never experienced this.
Right.
But with the changes they have made, the 2 things that stand out to me are A, the fact that, we expected queue times to be longer, but the fact that they're waiting, 2,500 seconds and still not getting matches. And then the bigger issue here being that there aren't enough teams sticking around long enough to make those matches for Grandmasters, that we don't even have enough Grandmaster teams. There's only 88 rankings, and then
I checked that yesterday actually, and we're only up to 100.
Yeah, so
that I saw Grandmasters and Team League.
It's supposed
So
to be
as
up
soon
to
as you hit
500,
Master
right?
and Team League, yeah,
250
like
for Hero League,
200
500
or 250 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It's not as high of a number as it was, but currently, if you hit Master and Team League, you will instantly become a Grandmaster.
Yeah. So that is instant red flag right there. That should not be a situation. Obviously, it's not a secret that there are some issues with ranked play right now, and they've been making tweaks to try and solve that. But anytime you're having to, have somebody hop on a Smurf in order to get a match, which then in turn causes a mismatch, is not okay.
An intentional mismatch, like he said. They have to do it to get a game, and so I can't blame them for doing it. So they can actually get in there and get some good practice in. Maybe they're practicing for the open division or something like that. I could totally see some logic behind that. But honestly, to that point, I'm a little bit turned off anytime someone feels like they have to hop on a Smurf. Frankly, like I would like these guys to be able to just work on their main accounts and build up the rank. I'm sure that's what they're in there to do. So, that's a rough one for sure.
Yeah, and I'm seeing so from chat.
Yes, it is. I just double checked. It's 100 for Team League. It looks like 200 or so for Hero League.
Okay, so we do have Masters now.
Finally, you'll have Masters. Yeah. In Team League.
But this is like a third of the way through the season. That shouldn't have taken
it took
that
a while
long.
because he sent this last week, and if there's only 88 last week, that's several weeks into the season.
But Oberock in chat said, should Hero League and Team League be merged into one rank mode? I do not think that. I personally at this point, from what we've had, I enjoy the first team league system that we had, as far as what should be in team league, the 1s and 2s in Hero League, and then actually creating a team for team league with what I think we had like 10 spots, 10 people you could build a team or have on your team. I really enjoyed that. I know we have talked several times on the show. TBK has written pages on and pages on, you know, wanting to get a team league finder in this game. You know, we've talked about several times, team league is the game mode that this game is meant to be played on. This is a team-based game. It's meant to be played in a group of 5, and it's just not that easy to do right now. So I'm really, really hoping, obviously they're still making tweaks. I'm really hoping that we're going to hear some big news at BlizzCon this year.
Yeah.
I know we were kind of wanting to hear that last year too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yet again, I'd say this is our top issue going into BlizzCon. Like, you know, if I was able to go this year, which unfortunately I've got a son on the way, can't make it. I shouldn't say unfortunately I've got a son on the way. I'm really excited for it. But the point is, yeah, you guys get in there. Say this is a major issue to me. For sure.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I linked in chat, and I can do it in the show notes too if anyone wants to read it. My big Team League revamp blog. It's something I've been very passionate about and very vocal about for quite some time. This game is a team game. This game is played the best when you're playing with 4 other friends in voice chat.
And like it's the most fun when you do
and
that.
And it's easily the most fun when you do that. And the problem we have right now is there is no good mechanism within the game that allows you to put a team together. And it's terrible. And that's why I think personally that is a big reason why the team league population is so low. If you had some sort of a good, well thought out, well built out team finder in game with a lot of filters that would allow you, and I went into that in my blog, but that would allow you to, you know, put a team together that is close to your ranking, that's within your time zone, that can play at the same times as you do. That would be so huge for this game, because right now you go to like Chair League or maybe the Reddit looking for group or something like that, and sure, there's some people there that you can team with, but you throw something into the game and bam, the hundreds of thousands or however many people play Heroes, they all have access now. It's all very easy to access, and they can all filter and search. You can put together teams, and then bam, suddenly Team League becomes a big thing, not only because you allow people to form easy groups, but then you incentivize it as well. Because you have such a big system, now you can have a cool reward system that is, you know, linked with it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is, for me, is my number one feature request and my number one hope going into BlizzCon, is that we will see more of an in-game team finder / clan / whatever to help make Team League a thing, because I think Team League is the optimal way this game should be played.
Yeah.
And right now, the game just doesn't support that like it needs to.
And
Sure.
I would actually be really interested to see what it would be like now if we went back to that old system. And for those of you that may have not, I don't know when the system was around, but originally Team League,
Like alpha, beta.
yeah,
time
was
period.
you could build an actual team. You named your team. The unfortunate thing was you had to spend gold to build a team. That should never be a thing again. But you could have, I think anywhere, it was like 8 to 10 people on your roster. So it was easy to get a group of people together, have some subs for people that can't make certain times, and then progress as an actual, it's your team rating instead of just an individual rating while playing Team League. And I've talked before, my end goal for Team League would be Team League is the way to qualify for the tournament or whatever it is to get into the HGC.
Yep.
Have the system be well enough to where you can work your way up with a team, a specific team with roster slots, into the professional Heroes of the Storm
or into
system.
the open division.
Well,
Yeah.
and everything.
and I even go into that in the blog I did about Team League. Get a tournament system in game. StarCraft 2 has them. Let's get the actual tournament system in game. And so the open division plays their tournament system from within the game client themselves instead of on an external website.
Yeah.
Like that's where we need to be eventually. And then all of that can feed into HGC.
Mm-hmm.
Would be cool.
Yeah, and then the last thing worth mentioning here, just because Operox bring good points, is the player base spread over too many modes: AI, Quick Match, Unranked, Hero League, and Team League. Should some modes merge? I don't, possibly right now. I don't know the player numbers for Heroes of the Storm. Obviously, as it has grown, it feels like significantly since 2.0. But these are also, with the exception, if you had to cut one of these down, I would have to, and I don't want to, I would have to say Hero League and Team League, because you need AI. There are people who, you know, well, actually, I don't want to say you don't need AI, but there are people who like just playing this game in AI. Quick Match is obviously the place to learn new heroes, test out certain things. Unranked prepares you for Hero League, and it's a mode that a lot of people want to play without playing ranked, and then ranked is your way to play. So I don't know. It's
a good question. Yeah, I feel like, I like all of these modes, and that you can kind of walk through them as a sort of stepping stone path toward Hero League and Team League. So I think I like how it's set up, but whether it splits out the population too much is definitely something that Blizzard can look at, for one. But where we feel the effect of that is definitely in this example that we've had with the call-in from Chillrog, is at the very top end of it, we can run into some issues with even being able to find a match at all. So, there's a little bit of that going on, at least on the ends of the spectrum. But that's technically true in a lot of these games that have ladders. I know Hearthstone runs into similar issues as well, and one of the fixes that the Hearthstone community is calling for is a tournament mode built into the game as well, too. So, I don't know. I think Blizzard just in general has a ways to go on this. But you're right, TBK. I'll totally echo you in that the closer it mirrors HGC, and also, Gizmo, the ability to actually qualify for HGC through it would be a huge driver, I think, to have people just even make more teams.
Yeah,
and fill out that top end a little bit. So
anything you can move within the game client, take away from external sources, everything you can move into the game client becomes, as long as you don't botch it completely or have a horrible UI design.
Right.
And Blizzard usually doesn't release stuff that's, crappy. They have pretty high standards for themselves. So anything you throw into the game client becomes instantly accessible.
Yeah.
And that's where this stuff needs to go. It needs to go into the game client.
And this is a conversation we could have an entire show on, and I'm sure we will have the conversation here in the future.
Have.
Yeah, we have. And it kind of expanded quite a bit from Chillrog's call-in. But thank you again for sending that in. That is something that I probably never would have known about, without you sending that in. So we really do appreciate that. And again, you guys can send those in. Just send them to our email, Lords of the Storm at Outlook.com. Yeah, and we'll say it again later correctly if you want to do that. We have
keep them kid friendly.
Yeah, kid friendly
as well.
Family friendly show.
Family friendly.
Multi. We also have another email here from Reuse Recycle.
Reuse, recycle. So yes, as you guys may know, there are some issues within Hero League as well. So we'll get into this a little bit. If you haven't been following our show for the last couple of weeks, we've touched on this a few times. In fact, I think Reuse, recycle wrote in previously with a few more tidbits. So he writes in, he's got a suggestion that will be a little less verbose this time. So he thinks he has a way to fix Hero League. So here's the solution. If a player does not have a Hero League rank within the last season, so say you take a season off, then at that point, the game should require you to do at least 10 to 15 games of unranked draft from the current or previous season before unlocking Hero League. And so this solves multiple problems. Number one, every player with a high uncertainty in ranking will at least have an unranked MMR from those games ahead of time that can be used for initial or reseeding of Hero League placements. Also, this prevents players like him from using Quick Match MMR to jump out of lower leagues For example, he spammed post rework Tassadar in quick match up to Diamond, but would be absolutely useless at Diamond in Hero League with it. So nice of you to own up to that, but it's all good. So number 3, new players are guaranteed to have exposure to the draft mechanics before starting ranked. And then, so his very first time playing Hero League or in any draft mode, he was banning. What the heck? So other thoughts about this as well. So this can be done concurrently with leveling 14 heroes to level 5. So it's not really an additional barrier to Hero League. And then also, this one's really interesting. So quick match MMR could still be used for the initial MMR seeding in the unranked draft. So doing well in quick match wouldn't be a total waste either. So anyway, he says, love the show. Hope you guys are doing well. And we are. Thank you so much. So yeah, to add another layer to this, I think is what he's looking to do. Make it to where you need to play a little bit of unranked draft to unlock Hero League, especially if you took a season off. And you could have the quick match MMR play into that, the unranked MMR play into your Hero League placement, and just have it cascade from there. And I there are things I like about it for sure. Absolutely, the ability to not have quick match MMR impact HL so much directly, I think would be an added feature. I really liked your point number 3, saying that new players are guaranteed to have exposure to draft mechanics before starting ranked. To me, that was kind of the point of the unranked draft in the first place, to give you just a place to understand how it works, but not necessarily be so high pressure and that sort of thing on yourself. So I agree. I think that would be good for new players. And just in general, I mean, and I don't know all the back end stuff. This would be more something that Blizzard would need to look into as to, again, I mean, is this going to spread the player pool even thinner? Kind of tying into our previous question. There's at least a slight possibility, at least when it comes to placement time at the beginning of seasons. But otherwise, I think this is an interesting new direction. What are you guys thinking on this?
It's in this, man, this is just, it's another one of those things. I do like it. The reasons I don't like it here are because unranked, requiring their Hero League placements and stuff to be based off of unranked, that then makes unranked something it's not supposed to be. And you will get the, like, unranked supposed to be where people can go to try out, their hero pool or try out specific comps if they're grouping up with people. But at the same time, with it currently going off of quick match and unranked, that same thing happens. I'm still stuck on, and maybe it's just because it's what I personally like, that Hero League MMR needs to be a decaying system where it keeps your MMR from the last 6 months or so. And it's just rolling day by day, because you're going to get better as a player. You're going to have times where you get worse as a player. So you'll have your up and downs, but it is not going to take you from, when I started this back in alpha, I was terrible. I had never played a MOBA before. Getting into ranked play, it was going off of all those games and that terrible, terrible record from when I didn't know what I was doing to help place me. Instead, it should take the last 6 months I've been playing as an improved player, what my actual skill level should be, and place me that way. And then
I would add on to that, because that's a really good idea. But at a certain rank, I would like to see actual decay throughout the season, kind of like Overwatch does. You get to a certain rank, and if you don't play so many games in a week or two or whatever, there's rating decay there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It happens naturally in Hearthstone too. Like if you place number 1 NA right out the gate, you're the first one to hit Legend and you're number 1, and then you don't play the rest of the month, you're not going to end number 1, So there's a little natural decay in that one too. So yeah, seeing something like that here, and also your rolling 6-month idea works too for people that jump out for a season or take some time off. That way they come back at like silver when they were gold, for instance, and have to kind of fight their way back up. Or I don't know exactly how the numbers would shake out.
Yeah. Or even just drop the initial placement that you can hit to. Maybe instead of Diamond 3, it's Plat 3. Or Plat 5 or Plat 1 or something like that. Maybe initial placement, or even, sure, you can still place in D3, but you can only place in D3 if you've already played at least one season.
Yeah.
Right. There has to be that history there. If you're brand new, maybe the brand new, never played Hero League before, first season has a cap of Plat 3.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And that helps protect against Smurfs too. So
And
Yeah.
just because, again, we have a whole bunch of people here tonight that may be joining us for the first time. Peregrine Okol said the major issue with Hero League promotion matches between each rank. The promotion match should be between bronze to silver, silver to gold, etc. We have talked about that before, and the fact that promotion matches need to be best of 3 instead of 1. But then, yeah, cutting it out from 4 to 3, 3 to 2 in that way. There's a ton of things. Again, this is an ever evolving system. It's going to change, hopefully for the better. But
I feel like we'll see some of this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when, but some of these ideas are just solid enough. And obviously Blizzard's thinking about all these things too. So I would predict some of this coming along the line somewhere.
And when I mean a decay system here, I'm not talking about, if a player hasn't played for 10 days or a week or whatever, they start automatically losing rank. That's not what I mean by that. I just mean a decay system that your record from 6 months ago no longer counts. That doesn't mean anything to your current skill level. So just to clarify that. But let's get going here so we can spread the infestation love. Before we go, though, Multi, where can we be reached?
We can be found in-game, actually, by typing /join space LOTS, or you can join our Discord, which the link is sticky to the top of our Twitter, @Lords of the Storm. We're also on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm, live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, so check us out again if you'd like. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. You can send us email with feedback or questions or audio recordings to lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want to help out the show, there's a couple ways to do it. Of course, you could leave us a review, and they really are super helpful, like 5-star iTunes reviews, positive Stitcher, that sort of thing. Again, can't stress it enough. It's a huge help. But if you really like what we do and want to help out even more, we do have our Patreon at patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where you can give any amount that you just deem appropriate. And naturally, you don't have to either, but it does help out the show and production value and everything there too. So we appreciate everyone who's given so far and those who are thinking about it.
It gets those nice black screens covering up the live show.
That's right.
It's perfect.
You got to pay for those black
you can also find us individually. You can find me Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all those things at GizmoZord. I am streaming quite a bit now of a lot of Heroes as well as some other games. I'm also on Convert to Raid Presents the Battle.net News, a WoW focused podcast, but that covers all things Blizzard. That is Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Multi, where can you be reached?
I'm on Twitter at Multizord, and I'll also point you at our other show called The Cavalry, which is about Overwatch. Got a couple of my buddies on that, a couple other Zords. That's on Twitter at The Cavalry Show. So check them out.
All right. And TBK? TBK?
TBK?
You muted.
Maybe I'll
he
fill
muted
it out.
himself.
Sorry.
He muted
Sorry.
himself.
I muted myself. I've been typing things. Like I'm running double duty tonight. You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and twitch.tv/TBKZord. We'll actually be returning to Chair League casting tomorrow at 9:20 Central. So definitely check that out if you're a Chair League fan.
Excellent. All right, we want to give a special thanks to our patron producer, Ouroboros Zord, for helping support the show. We really do appreciate it. Until next time, thank you to everyone that came to check out the show today. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Nate. And we will see you all next week, same time, same place, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Enough. I shall do no more.
All right, that's a show. Guys,
That is.
stick around, though. There are going to be more.